So, yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the residency experience. But before we do that, I wonder, Karen, if you can give a little bit of history about Cafe Tissardmine and how you came to be here.
Yes. Well, that's an interesting tale, but I'll keep it short. Um, so, yeah, basically, I came here on a holiday, and I just fell in love with the area, with the people. I met some fabulous, well, one in particular, fabulous family, and had this idea to start a retreat during the 3 days that I was on that camel trek. And so talked a lot with Yosef, one of the sons of the family, and he kind of got what I wanted to do. He understood that I wanted to invite people here for a long time, like a month, and so was very excited by that because he loves to share his Berber experience. And so over the next few months, we worked hard and found this place, Cafe Tissardmine, and started to build. It was just a block of land, and so we started with a house and a few tents, and then over the first 2 years, we started to build more and more and put the infrastructure in, and started taking artists from 2012. Yeah. So we had some individual artists before then, but the first groups came in about 2012.
And why an artist residency?
I'd been, in a past life, I was a performer, writer, singer, and then festival director. And I got quite jaded and quite burnt out, and realised there would be a lot of other burnt out artists out there. And when I found this place, it was so healing that for me, rather than doing a residency that was about producing work, it was about having a residency that allowed artists to recharge and get re-inspired. And I think just the tranquility of the place, the isolation, the lack of internet, you really are just forced to look and feel and be. And I think for an artist that's incredibly important.
And I guess those were the qualities that attracted you here in the very first place.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think it took me about at least 3 years to sort of feel back to being me again, but it changed me. I'm a lot slower, which I quite like. I'm still the fastest one here, but I'm a lot slower.
Yeah.
But it's, people often ask if I get bored or if I get lonely, and I never get either of those things because, as Yosef and I say, the world comes to us. And it's, because we have artists, there's never a dull moment. And there's always an interesting perspective on everything. And the creativity that happens out here is just phenomenal.
Okay. And in terms of the residency experience itself, I mean, you see people coming from all walks of life here. You have writers, visual artists, filmmakers. What happens to people when they arrive?
There's a certain energy that people bring with them when they first get here, and it's quite hyper. Or it's the opposite. There's some real deep baggage in there. Or a lot of people come here with quite a lot of grief. And especially the turmoil of the last 2 years. There's a lot of people in grief that come to here. And gradually over the first week, you see that they just start to shed, the stress. And it's just fantastic to see. And they start to slow down and they start to feel, yeah.
And everything here, one of the really striking things for me is that everything runs in kind of rhythm with the elements in some way. The sun comes up, it goes down. Everything's dictated by that kind of rhythm. The moon
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There was one comment that I got, and they said, "When's dinner?" And I said, "Oh, just after sunset." And they said, "Well, what time sunset?" And I said, "It's when the sun goes down." It's just like,
Look out for that.
You don't need to watch. You
Yeah.
just see the sun going down,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
people do adjust to that.
Yeah.
And they start to see the relationship between the Earth, the Moon, and the Sun, and the stars, and it's quite profound. One girl said to me, "You have the Milky Way here as well. I thought it was just in New Zealand." It's like, no, it's everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
So, okay, well, we met obviously when I came here as a visiting artist, and I had a really profound experience of deep silence, and found the qualities here of particularly of the light, which fascinates me in my own work, really, really profound. And that was with a small group of 3, 4 other artists, I think, at that time. And then subsequently we've had some conversations and developed this collaboration, which is now the Alchemy Film and Moving Image Residencies in collaboration with Cafe Tissardmine. How is it different, this residency that we've run, because we're now at the end of the 2 months, 2 groups, one group of 6, another group of 7. How's that different to the normal kinds of residencies? And has it been better or worse than normal?
No, it's just different.
Yeah.
Well, I think because you and part of the reason that I wanted to have this partnership was because I also run some structured weeks or 2 weeks, but that it would with Alchemy it would be an intensive, so 3.5 weeks of structure with free time, with some direction, but also quite loose and flexible within that programming. Because that's one thing, you have to be here because you never know what the weather's going to be like. So you might go in your schedule, and I think this is why it's worked. We'll do this excursion on this day, and that's fixed. And then suddenly you get a sandstorm that day, and so you have to be able to be flexible. With the groups who come as individuals, I think because there's not the you person, Richard, who can help make these people form a group. It takes a little longer for that group to gel. I do have the only thing I do is a getting to know you session when people first arrive. I never used to, but it's a really good sort of shortcut into what everyone is expecting to get out of here, and it's a chance for people to say, I'm going to do a 3-day retreat within the middle of this, please don't be offended. So you sort of get rid of all those sort of potential conflicts. But by having you here protects me from a lot of questions. So I do have a lot more free time, actually. I mean, the work is very constant, but there's a cohesiveness to the demands, and you already filter them because you understand what's possible, what's not possible, and of course we always try and make everything possible. But
I mean, one of the
advantage.
really nice things that's come from just our conversations with artists that are leaving the last 2 residencies has been how much people have really valued your facilitation. In fact, and we've had artists with sometimes quite bizarre demands. Like we had one on the last residency who wanted to sit a camel at a desk with a typewriter.
Of course we can do that.
And of course Karen made that happen. So, this is incredible. But at the same time, you facilitate very well, I think, because it can get almost claustrophobic here for a month when everyone's kind of living together and living in the compound together. But we've managed to work out, I think, a nice balance of people going out on different kinds of excursions, and particularly the trips to the dunes have been very special for people.
Breaking up that routine.
Yeah. So I think the facilitation has been absolutely amazing. So Sandy, you're a participant here. what's the experience been like from your side of the fence, as it were?
Well, I am a participant, and it came at very short notice, so I didn't have all that much time to prepare. But I think the partnership, a great partnership, has been really in evidence because you seem to work together really well. You've probably had important conversations at an early stage, just about who's doing what, who says what, and it just seems very, very comfortable from my viewpoint how the two of you get along and make the residency the best it possibly can be for people. I really liked the way the programme was structured, and I really valued the flexibility that could be just called upon if need be, if something happened or somebody had something to they wanted to show. I think the balance between something structured and something flexible, it was just about right.
I mean, just for information, I mean the structure that we've tried to employ has been, artists sharing their work and having a lot of time to do that during the first week. So every artist has had a whole session to themselves, and sometimes that's taken an hour and a half, 2 hours for people to share their kind of work in progress. Then on this residency, we had the visiting tutor, that was Helen DeWitt, who came for a week, and she did 2 kind of structured sessions and then a series of screenings. And then really on this residency, a lot of the other sessions, because we meet every single day, have been people sharing work in progress, and I've been absolutely astonished at just how much work in progress has been screened. And I think, can you say something a bit about what that's been like for you as a new filmmaker? You've come into this process. You've been faced with sometimes people much more experienced than yourself, and then had to stand up and screen something that you've shot over the last few days.
And that is very, I wouldn't say intimidating, but it's a real challenge to go into that environment. You said something on the first few days that became a truism. It is about you equally learn from each other, and we had a great group. I can only speak for the second group. They're really bright, intelligent, friendly, and generous with their knowledge and skills. So I was able to get some support from other people in the group. So that worked really well for me. Living together for the best part of a month is always going to bring some challenges. I had clear ideas in my head how I was going to manage anything like that. It came along. You can't plan for everything, but I got through it okay, and I think most people did. There's a really nice atmosphere here, which helps as well. There's something that's almost tangible that. It's a really peaceful place, and I think that you absorb that when you're here. I don't know if I answered your question.
I think so. Yeah. And I guess for myself, the absolute joy of this residency has been seeing artists have moments where they make real creative breakthroughs, and a couple of people have done that. They've come and they've said, well, I want to be challenged, I want to try some new things, and you see them try some new things, some do, some don't work, and then suddenly you see someone hit their stride and something, they're really working on something that they really believe in, and that's a joy to witness that. You kind of feel that you don't, we create here a kind of scenario in which that can happen, rather than kind of forcing. You can't force those things on people. No. You try to create a scenario in which people's creativity can come out and be stimulated by the various sessions and input that we do. So that's been a real joy.
What really impressed me was the high standard of critical analysis of work, and it was all done in a very supportive way, and people took time to look at people's work and then think it through, and not just jump to conclusions, but just go through it with the artist, what they felt worked for them, what they felt its strengths were, and things that could be improved. I thought the standard of that was really high, and I think maybe that's partly down just to the atmosphere of the place and it's a nurturing environment.
Yeah, yeah, indeed it is. Yeah. So, did you have any?
Well, I think what I'm hearing from you, but I suppose I've got a question for you both about, it's the first time you've gone into partnership together, and you seem to be positive about that. Would that be?
No,
No, I can't stand his face.
It's
No.
awful. Just yeah.
Partnerships can just triple, in my experience, they can just triple, quadruple the opportunities. Just different organisations coming together and different people.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
I mean, I think we communicate really well, and
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
and not overly.
yeah,
I think that's the best thing for both of us. We're very, you know, there's not a lot of talk needed, but we do talk and discuss, and so we both know what's going on, and we respect each other's areas of expertise and control, I suppose.
yes, exactly right. Yeah.
So it's like I just have to let you get on with your thing, and you let me get on with my thing, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've found you've been incredibly kind of mindful all the time and respectful of anything that's going on relating to the program, and I've tried to organise things so that the trips and all that it just seems to have worked. We've talked well about those kinds of things. As always, you've just run an amazing show in terms of the cooking and the kitchen, and just everything kind of works. Yeah, I think everyone's just enjoyed the sense of deep hospitality here. Yet at the same time, I think you're very mindful to give people space.
Yes.
As I think I've been as well.
Yeah,
but,
you both have. I think that you've both really been a credit in the sense that the programme's been really structured. People have had space. I've had space, lots of space during that 25 days to take personal time out, to work on my creative projects, listen to what people are saying, appreciate the visiting tutor. As for the place itself, you feel really at home here. I felt really at home, felt really welcomed, and
I'll just step over here for a moment.
I felt really welcomed here, and Karen's a great host. There's a really good backstory here, how you landed here, and it's really intriguing. And you've got a real heart for this community as well. You care for the people around you, and you've got a lot of respect here.
Well, as I see, I mean, when the reason I moved here was I found my home, and I think most of my work as an artist prior to coming to here most of it was about the search for home, and then I found it. So that is often a part of me that wants to facilitate other artists in sort of working through that themselves. I mean, not necessarily the same issue, but and I never wanted to run a hotel, and so I didn't.
Yes. Yeah. And thinking forward, if we were to do this collaborative program again, is there anything you'd do differently?
I don't think so. Apart from, as I was saying, we had the intention of twin share, and I would give everyone their own room, and I think that would just, because that's basically what happened this residency, and I think it helped the dynamic of the whole thing, that everyone had their own cocoon at the end of the day.
I think that's
I
true.
think that's essential.
Yeah.
I wasn't fazed by sharing at all, but having your own space, I think creatively might be a better, produce better opportunities.
I mean, I've created a lot of nooks everywhere, but it's still, at the end of the day, to go back to your own room and not be sharing, I think would just be the icing on the cake.
I think that's good if we can manage that with the capacity of the place. And from my perspective, I think it's worked incredibly well. I think we haven't got a formal feedback yet, but I think the feedback's going to be tremendously positive. People have done several exercises while they've been here and we've seen the results of that. But also, most people have worked on more substantial projects here. So I think we'll see a lot of work actually being made out of this residency, and that's while actually kind of putting the residency proposition forward, that's not necessarily a requirement whatsoever that people make work. I think sometimes you give people the freedom, which has always been your philosophy. You give the people freedom not to make anything, and suddenly they're able to creatively engage. You know,
and that's where the exercises that you set are good as well, because it's like, well, even if you do no great major, opus, then just have a play with this, and that can often sort of just trigger something and take them into another whole other place.
Yeah,
so,
I think they've been quite good.
Yeah.
So from a participant's point of view, I just want to say thanks to you both. I think you've just worked really hard over the last month that I've been here, and I've appreciated every minute. It's been a complete joy. Thank you. Thanks.
It's been a pleasure.
For me, it's been a total joy as well. So it's good all round, I think.
And next week I can sleep.
Indeed.
Thanks for everything, the both of you.
Yeah, all right.
Pleasure.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.
See you next year.
Not meant to talk to the camera.